Mm, people, people. I'm a little bit late. I apologize. But y'all get in here as you can. Again, you know how your girl does. Sometimes it's easier to go live than to try to do a video. But what I'd like to do today, baby, we are talking about celebrity legal issues. And we are going to be reviewing the lawsuit filed against Tyler Perry. Now, if you're not familiar with Tyler Perry has come into fame from doing his plays in regards to his character Medea. He turned those plays, those very lucrative plays into movies that were very lucrative. He also bought himself a studio on the outskirts of Atlanta. It's Tyler Perry Studios. And as of now, he is considered or he is a billionaire. So Tyler Perry acts, he directs, he writes, he does it all. And apparently there is a actor from the Oval which is suing him in a lawsuit for $260 million. And you say, Pamela, what is he suing him for $260 million? What is going on? Well, definitely, I will go over this lawsuit with you. It is 46 pages. And as you come in, please hit that like button. If you're watching me on X, please hit that heart button. If you're watching me on YouTube, hit that like button and consider subscribing. And the same goes to you over in X. If you are following me on X, come on over to YouTube and follow me as well. I appreciate it. It helps with my engagement. And once you subscribe, you'll be open to a plethora of videos that I have done, including my celebrity legal issues and lawsuits. I am currently covering the Diddy trial. However, I've told you all, I think I've covered it consistently for 2 or 3 weeks. It's gotten to be a little redundant. They've had a court today. It was supposed to have been the drug guy in. I haven't checked the feeds yet to see what's going on. I definitely will check them and do a summary. But to break the monotony, we're going to go over this Tyler Perry lawsuit. Now, he is this young man, Derek Dixon, is not the first person to have and it has been reported, and it is also reported in this lawsuit, the first to have sued Tyler Perry. If you remember back last year, was it the first part of last year? Christian Keys, this young man right here, Christian Keys, had went on Instagram and had his Instagram rant about his about Tyler Perry and about his screenplay that he had written. I think it's All the Queen's Men or All the Queen's Men, something to that effect. And he also talked about that he had received inferences that if he did things of the sexual nature, that things would move or progress. He did, like I said, he did an IG live. You can definitely type that in on Google and it'll come up because several people have recorded it. But it is my understanding that he talked about it, and then the next thing you know, he stopped talking about it. And people have said, and it's also delineated in this lawsuit, that he settled with Tyler Perry. Hey. Hello, everyone in here. Hello, Look Forward Spiritual. Hey, CJ. I just started a celebrity legal journal channel. Maybe you can come on my show. Would love to. Just let me know. Would love to. It was December 20. It was 2023. Okay. Because he went on there, he was ranting. Hey. So, what I want to do today is go over this lawsuit uh, that has been filed by Mr. Derek Dixon. So let's add this to the stage. Now I don't know what's going on with StreamYard, because StreamYard you used to be able to fix it right to where it would hit. I don't know what's going on. They're doing so much and adding so many things that we're also losing some things as well. Let me see how that looks. Okay. All right. So this has been filed in the Superior Court of California, and it was filed on 6/13/2025, as you see up here. Now, this is my clean copy. I do have a copy that I've kind of written on and highlighted some things. I will be using both of these, and I will just let you know of things. So let's go over what the complaint is. Well, first, let's see who's suing. So it's Derek Dixon, an individual plaintiff, versus Tyler Perry, an individual, Tyler Perry Studio Production Services, LLC, and Action LLC, a limited library company, and Doe's 1 through 50. And as things progress, we may find out who the Does are 1 through 50, because these are just people who were doing the work of the corporations and the companies, and he doesn't have their names yet. And so as soon as he gets their names, he'll add them to the lawsuits as needed. So what is he suing for? Here are his complaints. He has 10 complaints. First is quid pro quo and harassment, work environment harassment, uh, ex harassment under the Ralph Act, workplace gender violence, violation of the Bain Act, battery, sexual battery, sexual assault, negligent retention, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and retaliation. Okay? These are the things that we need to have some. Have I have I just all right, let me do. Now I'm just it seems like my internet is trying to act like it don't know how to act, but we'll definitely. But let's talk about the Bain Act, because the Bain Act, it says number 5, violation of the Bain Act. And what is that in California? The Tom Bain Civil Rights Act, or Bain Act, is a California law that allows individuals to sue those who interfere with their civil rights through threats, intimidation, or coercion. Okay. Now, also in here, it's they have the Ralph Act. And let's go over what that is real quickly. I'm not going to show it on the screen. I'm just going to read it to you, okay? All right. So, the Ralph Act is a California law that protects individuals from violence or intimidation based on certain characteristics. It specifically prohibits violence or threats of violence motivated by a person's actual or perceived sex, gender, race, color, religion, ancestry, national origin, disability, medical condition, genetic information, marital status, sexual orientation, citizenship, primary language, immigration status, political affiliation, and it goes on and on and on. So it protects you from having any threats like that worked against you. So those are the two things, because again, this is a California lawsuit. And so I just want us to be aware of what these different things that are going on in California. All right. Now, I will go ahead and warn you that this sounds like it is going to be um, explicit, and it's going to be talking about violence. So I do want to let me put my trigger warning, honey. I do want to put my trigger warning up. I'm gonna let you all read this. This live stream will review stories of incidents of domestic violence and sexual assault. If you or someone you know needs help, There is the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233 and the SA hotline at 1-800-656-4673. All right, let's get back into this. So let's talk about the summary of action. So they're going in. He's going to be talking about who he is and who Tyler Perry is. Okay. So let's go ahead. So summary of action. Plaintiff Derek Dixon, plaintiff, files his complaint against defendant Tyler Perry, aka Emmett Perry Jr., the TPS Production Services LLC, and the Action LLC. Together, they're the defendants, and he's alleging as follows. The following complaint is pled on information and belief. This case arises from a sustained pattern of workplace sexual harassment, assault, and retaliation perpetrated by Tyler Perry, a powerful media mogul, against plaintiff Derek Dixon, a professional actor and screenwriter. Mr. Perry is an American actor, filmmaker, and playwright who has built one of the most successful careers in the film and television industry. Mr. Perry took his success and power and used his considerable influence in the entertainment industry to create a coercive, sexually exploited dynamic with Mr. Dixon, initially promising him a career advancement and creative opportunities, such as producing his pilot and casting him in shows, only to subject him to escalating harassment, assault, and battery, and professional retaliation when Mr. Dixon did not reciprocate Mr. Perry's unwanted advances. Now, this is kind of paralleling what Christian Keyes had talked about. Christian Keyes had written a screenplay or written a movie treatment. It was something that he had written, and he had gone over this with Tyler Perry, and then going over this stuff with him, there was these advances. These events occurred while Mr. Dixon was employed as a series regular on the Tyler Perry show, The Oval. And while Mr. Perry held direct control over his employment, compensation, and creative opportunities. Now, he talks about Tyler Perry, how he rose against all odds to be one of the most powerful figures in the entertainment business. Now, if you're not familiar with this rise, Tyler Perry always talks about the fact that he was homeless. He was doing these plays. He would work just to be able to put these plays on. They didn't hit at first, but then they did, and once those plays hit, and he was able to make this money. He took the plays from being on the stage. He made them into movies. He also produced television shows. There is like a Tyler Perry way. So Tyler Perry, when he everything that he does, it goes into syndication, meaning that what is it? You have to have at the least 100 shows. It's either 100 or 150 shows in order for your show to be picked up in syndication. So the way that Tyler Perry moves, that any show that he does, they film anywhere from like 100 or 150 shows within a 6 months period. So when he takes these shows to the network, there's already 100 episodes, and it's already to go into syndication. So if the network, for whatever reason, cancels the show, no matter, he has enough episodes completed that he can take those shows into syndication. And that's how a lot of the money and things like that are made for productions and things like that. So they call that the Tyler Perry method, meaning that you get all your shows together, get them all completed. So if you've got a show that's a 30-minute show, he is going back to back to back to back. Any actor that works with Tyler Perry, they usually have a good success as far as being able to move. Basically, they move like soap operas. I don't know if you've ever watched soap operas back in the day, but soap operas would record things in one day. So, and they would be on a 2-week schedule. So what you would see on TV, they recorded it 2 weeks ago. And so it's all one take. So if you bombed on that one take, then it's going to show in 2 weeks. on a soap opera that you bombed in those 2 weeks. So you've always noticed that those actors that come from soap opera, it used to be back in the day, those actors that came from a soap opera background usually were able to ace being on regular television or even being into movies, because again, they were asked to learn dialogue every day, day after day after day after day. So they had that kind of muscle memory that they can retain that information. So when you saw the Josh Dumals and all of those people that have gone from soap operas to movies and television, you would notice that their ability to, even if they were young, they come off like seasoned actors. I hope that makes sense. I'm not saying that they were the best actors in the world. However, you can definitely tell an actor that came from a soap opera background versus someone who, made it big in Hollywood and just starting from just maybe televisions and movies and things like that. It's you can kind of gauge them, but I would just say that those actors usually, when I remember, particularly those actors in the 90s and going rolling into the 2000s, if there was an actor that worked in a soap opera type situation, you can definitely tell. And I don't know if it's the work ethic or not, I don't know exactly what it is, but you can basically tell that they were able to memorize the dialogue and emote it from different angles. I'm not talking down on any other actor, I'm just saying, if you watch soap operas back in the day, if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. There was just a different level. And the same thing happens with those people that come off of these Tyler Perry movies. Again, Tyler Perry movies and these Tyler Perry shows. These actors, uh, since they have that ethic of being able to memorize all this dialogue and to have to work long days and maybe before the end of the day film 2 or 3 different episodes, they know how to work in this fast paced environment. And again, to me, that just sounds like soap opera. But let's continue. Tyler Perry rose against all odds to become one of the powerful figures in the entertainment industry. His success story, once a symbol of perseverance and self-made achievement, has now become a cautionary tale of how unchecked power, wealth, and influence can corrupt those who obtain it. Among other contracts, Perry received a lucrative multi year partnership with the Oprah Winfrey Network, and his net worth tops $1.3 billion. Tyler Perry's rise to fame and fortune elevated him from a powerless victim to a figure of tremendous wealth, influence, and power, culminating in the ownership of his own film studio. Rather than using his influence responsibly, Tyler Perry has engaged in a pattern of misconduct where he exploited his position of power. Mm-mm. Tyler Perry has been using his power and influence to molest, abuse, and assault impressionable and vulnerable employees and actors who took him for guidance and mentorship while pursuing their dream. Just like Harvey Weinstein, Bill Cosby, R. Kelly, Sean P. Kevin Spacey, Roger Ailes, and many others in the industry. Now he might get something because didn't they find Kevin Spacey not guilty? Y'all put that down in the comments for me. And many others in the industry. Mr. Perry's success has led him to believe that money and influence can get him whatever he wants. That belief slowly transformed into the false idea that Mr. Perry can get whomever he wants. There are things in life that money cannot buy. Mr. Perry sought the one thing his wealth and influence cannot purchase: an ex relationship with a man who would remain silent. Okay, I'm gonna continue because I'm like, there would be plenty of guys who would want a relationship and remain quiet dealing with a billionaire. And I don't say that tongue in cheek. I just say that because there's plenty of people. There are many women who are in relationships with billionaires, knowing that this billionaire may have a wife or a mate or something like that, and they are very happy to be the side person, because, with that billionaire or multimillionaire, that person can afford to keep them in a lifestyle that's very comfortable. So let's continue. Uh, Perry told Mr. Dixon that his ideal relationship would involve a male partner who he could provide for and who would be loyal but emotionally detached. Perry told Dixon, "Whoever ends up with me is going to be a happy MFer." Mm-mm. In essence, Mr. Perry described a one-sided coercive dynamic with a subordinate, an arrangement devoid of mutual consent or emotional reciprocity. Thus began Perry's calculated pursuit of Mr. Dixon. And I apologize for fumbling over my words because I have noticed that if I don't read and talk over a couple of, because I've been uh, crashing out from this Diddy trial, so I hadn't read a thing and done anything in the past a few days now. And if I don't read or do something like that, I will stumble and fumble over my words for at least a couple of pages of this document until I get it together. This was not Mr. Perry's first instance of exploitation. He has demonstrated a troubling pattern of exploiting vulnerable male actors and employees, leveraging his industry power to create a cycle of hope and dependency. First, he offers aspiring actors the prospect of career defining opportunity, roles that promise visibility and advancement. Then, once they are in his professional orbit, he uses the weight of his influence to ensnare them, positioning their success as contingent on meeting his demands in a quid pro quo sexual compromise. This pattern of behavior reveals a calculated use of professional power for the X leverage. Interesting. Using his influence, Mr. Perry provided vulnerable men with acting position, roles, shows, cars, and money. Once the object of his desire was hooked, Tyler Perry would then put them in fear of losing it all unless they engage in Mr. Perry's perverted desire for sexual gratification. Mr. Perry would easily kill off a character in a show of an actor who failed to indulge in his fantasies. Uh-oh, we've got text messages. In one such exchange, Perry stated that he could fix things because the actors of a show he was filming should all be scared because they were all shot at and we don't know who lived, meaning that Tyler Perry was going to use this as a tool to gain compliance with his desires. And let me just read down to the number 13 and then we'll come back up to that text message. Derek Dixon was Mr. Perry's sexual desire ever since they became acquainted. Dixon was working as part of the event staff for a party hosted by Mr. Perry when Mr. Perry noticed him. Perry immediately offered Dixon the chance to audition for a part in one of his TV productions. All right, so let's go back up here to this text message. Now, let me see. Now, I don't know who's blue or who's not. So let's read it and we'll try to figure this out. But I swear to you, I know how to fix this SHIT. I love killing a MF in a show that no one expects. So this is Tyler Perry in the gray. And then I guess this is Derek Dixon. You could be sipping Mai Tais counting coconuts right now. Think about the last episode. They are all shot at. We don't know who lives. And it says exactly I'm scared. They should be too. And he's laughing. Nope, they're not. Last I checked, we all got the same bullets in us. Man. So this was an example of him talking about if the actors are not acting right, he's quick to kill them off. All right. Dixon agreed and was on set with Perry behind the camera for weeks in close quarters. During the time they were filming, Perry would send flirtatious text messages to Dixon. For example, in one message, Perry stated that he was jealous when he saw Dixon going on long walks with another man named Brad. So let's read. So this time, he says, "Why did that photo make me jealous? You two together." Hold up, y'all. Hold up. Hold up. Wait a minute. Excuse me. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I'm sorry, y'all. Let's read this. Why did that photo make me jealous? You two together. And then I guess this is Derek Dixon in the blue. Ha. I don't know. It's just Brad, LOL. And then he says, LOL. And Derek says, he just wanted to go for a quick walk to get his steps in. And now I'm walking to Chipotle by myself, LOL. And then he says, Vic Garrick, get that Chipotle. In another text message. See, this is that thing. I understand clearly when I say this. I'm clear and I understand this because we live in such a digital world. You all text these things to people and you believe that there is this level of privacy. I would tell you, and again, I'm not advocating for people to harass anybody, but when you have things like this that you are discussing, that has to be face to face. I don't advocate any of that. And I don't even know how I feel about people in the workplace dating. I don't really think I have an issue with it. However, if you're dating someone who is the boss, and I'm not saying that this is what this young man did. If you're dating, you already know that there is a power dynamic, whether you want to admit it to yourself or not. It doesn't matter if it is a woman boss, a man boss. There is a power dynamic because this person has the ability to get rid of you if he feels like he needs to, if he wants to. So I would say if you want to decide to get into those situations, you need to understand the power dynamics in all of this. But let's continue. That's just my side bit talk. I'm just. Let's continue. In another text message, Perry stated to Dixon, what's it going to take for you to have guiltless sex? Have y'all found that yet in therapy? You can have freedom from religious guilt and still believe in Christ. Plaintiff carefully navigated a friendly demeanor to prevent the loss of income and opportunity on the one hand, and on the other, a firm boundary against Perry's advances. So let's continue and let's see what he said here. It says, what is it going to take for you to have guiltless sex? Have y'all found that in therapy? Yes, it's the exact kind of car. Okay. A Geo Metro. Okay, see, this tells me that this text thread didn't start there. So there is a context that I'm missing, because it says here, what are you going to take to have guiltless sex? Have y'all found that in therapy? See, I'm under the impression that he is talking about some therapy session that Derek is in with someone else. So does Derek have a partner? And he says, yes, it's the exact kind of car, Geo Metro. So before this starts, and again, this is where context is key. It says, yes, the exact same kind of car, Geo Metro. So they're obviously talking about cars and they're talking about therapy at the same time. So let's continue. Giving up my religious guilt, becoming a Buddhist, that's so cool. Where you came from. And he says, unfortunately, Derek, I have friends who are in their 50s and 60s who are still dealing with that. And it's sad. You can have freedom from religious guilt and still believe in Christ. Often, when Mr. Perry started drinking, he would demand more attention from plaintiff and get more aggressive with his flirting. Okay. I don't see the way that they're wording this in this thing. The text messages is not giving me that, because it sounds like they're talking about something else at the top of this they're talking about, and we would need to see that, because by itself it gives you that, oh girl, look at this, he is talking about. But apparently they're having this longer conversation about something else. So I don't know if this text message right here is giving me that feel yet, but let's continue. On one occasion, when Mr. Perry was drinking, he started to become extremely annoyed when Mr. Dixon avoided him. Mr. Perry stated that of the 600 people in his phone book, he only wanted to talk to Mr. Dixon. So let's see what's going on. He says, something, 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 treat myself right. What are you doing? And then he's like, Derek. He says, just talking with my sister. And then he does an eye roll. Fine. Good night. I go through the 600 people in my phone book and be annoyed that I don't want to talk to any of them. He says, trying to get off so I can get some sleep. LOL. I understand. LOL. LOL. Apparently, you're not the only one that's been drinking tonight. And he says, I just started. And he says, they didn't. Interesting. That's an interesting text. That's an interesting text thread to me. Dixon did his best to tiptoe around Mr. Perry's ex-aggression while keeping on Mr. Perry's good side. Mr. Perry made it clear to Dixon that if Dixon ignored Perry or failed to engage with the sexual innuendos, Dixon's character would die in the next season. Indeed, Dixon's character, Dale, was shot 4 times in the chest at the end of his first season on the Oval, and Perry always held this over Mr. Dixon's head, implying that Dale would survive if Dixon kept Perry happy. Once Perry recognized the extent of control he had over Mr. Dixon, he escalated this behavior. On multiple occasions, Mr. Perry assaulted Mr. Dixon, including one instance where he forcibly pulled off Mr. Dixon's clothing, groped his buttocks, and attempted to force himself on Dixon. Mr. Dixon told a drunken Perry no and attempted to remove Mr. Perry's hands, but Mr. Perry held tightly onto Dixon's wrist. Mr. Dixon was only able to escape after de-escalating the situation by abruptly changing the subject. Wait a doggone minute. The day after the assault, Mr. Perry called and texted Mr. Dixon relentlessly saying, tried you, call me, and I really need to talk to you. Please call me as soon as you can. Finally, when Mr. Dixon answered Tyler Perry's call, Perry profusely apologized for the assault while blaming it on other things. Perry continued, He didn't know why he would do that. Maybe he was self-sabotaging. Self-sabotaging. On the very same call where he apologized for the assault against Dixon, Perry told Dixon, and don't worry, we're going to do your show, referring to the pilot that Perry knew Mr. Dixon has desperately wanting to produce. Shortly thereafter, Mr. Dixon got a call from Perry's lawyer saying that Christmas had come early, that Dixon was getting a substantial raise, and the show was greenlit. Lord, did he pay him for his pain? Because he got a call from the lawyer. Okay, keep going. Perry's attorney explicitly warned Dixon not to tell any other actor on the show about Dixon's raise because no other actors was getting a raise, only Dixon. Perry kept telling Dixon that he was sorry and that the harassment would not happen again. However, the harassment and the assault continued. Mr. Perry would also try to deflect the blame for the harassment, for the assault, by saying that Dixon didn't have a strong enough no. Perry told Dixon that you have to be able to say no to propositions for the sex and mean it and make it clear. Nothing pissed me off when people try to dictate your no's. If I tell you no, and if I tell it to you with a smile on my face, it's still no. If I cuss you out and tell you no, it's still no. It's still as strong as the other no. No is a complete sentence. And it means what it means. And you don't get to dictate to me how my no's are supposed to be. You're supposed to scream the no. No. If you ask me if you ask me something and I say no, no thank you. That's what that means. No. No thank you. I don't want to do it. I don't want what you're offering. No. I don't want to go anywhere with you. No. I don't want you to touch me. No. No means no. And I need for people to understand that and stop trying to dance around it and try to because the biggest example I hear a lot of times is there are guys that'll say, and oh, well, you need to smile more. And then they'll ask you for your number or something. You say, no, no, thank you. Come on now, give me your number. No, thank you. I don't want to give your number. Now, you have people that'll sit out here and say, girl, just give him the number so he can. For what? You are the same people that preach stranger danger to kids and tell people not to give up their personal information to people who they don't know, unless it's some kind of authority, you're handling business. So some strange man walks up to you and his agency means more than your agency. And the way women have to contour and corrupt themselves in order to handle day by day stuff. So when we say no, it means no. But a lot of you guys think, oh, this is all mess because, oh, you're in the club. And if I'm in the club and you're in the club, you're supposed. No. It's still no. You can think that she's acting bitchy all day long. But her no is a no, even in the grocery store. Well, y'all don't want nobody to talk to you. There's just times, yes, there's just times when I don't when we don't want to talk to anybody. And that's okay. Sorry. Let's go. Let's read this. Let's read the text. Nice. Santa Monica is nice. I'm glad you're going out there. How is your no? Is it stronger? You got to have a strong no. And he says, yes, it's strong. My mom literally thinks I'm going to sell my son to the Illuminati. She heard Kanye say that it's real. Well, this is Perry. Well, I don't think that, but I do think that you have to be able to say no and mean it and make it clear. I'll only say yes if it gets me an Oscar. Well, the only one who could have gotten that for you through sex is in prison. So just stick to the no, unless you're really into him. Is he talking about Harvey Weinstein? Tyler, this don't look good, son. Dixon. Dixon did not know how to answer without facing retaliation, cancellation of his production contract, or perhaps being killed off the show. So instead, Dixon made a joke out of the situation, stating that I'll only say yes to the ex if it gets me an Oscar. In response, we read that already, so let's continue. Perry reveals through these text messages that the no he was referring to was Dixon's no to the exchange for promotion in the industry, classically known as quid pro quo, sexual harassment. Perry sent this message to Dixon because it is exactly what Tyler Perry was doing. At some point, Dixon left Atlanta and moved to Santa Monica to create distance from Tyler Perry. However, even at long distances, Mr. Perry continued to harass. Now, as I'm reading this, and they say that he's leaving, was this after the show? Because I'm not familiar with the Oval. If y'all know in the comments if the Oval is still on, let me know. Because again, I know that he does. You know, he'll do 100 shows and it'll be in syndication. But I'm just confused. Is he still living in Santa Monica? I don't know how much distance he was creating since Tyler Perry has a home in Atlanta and he has a home in California somewhere. So they talk about the parties, who Derek Dixon was, and who the defendant Tyler Perry is. They talk about the that Tyler Perry lives in both the state of Georgia and California. He has substantial businesses in California. And the defendant TPS Production Services is a limited liability company. And I'll also say this too, and from what I'm learning, that when they filed these lawsuits in California, had he filed this lawsuit in Georgia, I don't know if it would have gotten as much traction because California has a lot of different laws in regards to SA, uh, being able to sue for SA, and all of these little different things. So I think him moving to Santa Monica, living in California, I don't know if he's still employed with Tyler Perry or not. I can't call that, but I know that suing out of California in these particular cases, you have a more, it's a little more lenient. I guess that's the right wording to say. All right. Plaintiff is ignorant of the true names and capacity. Okay, that's just talking about them. Let me go back through where I had because some places I told myself I can skip. All right, so let's go to page 9. So we're talking about the venue and the jurisdiction. This court has personal jurisdiction over all defendants because they have proposally availed themselves, are residents of the state, and or conduct business in the state. Further, the vast pattern of abuse, including the assault, harassment, and inappropriate, in addition to wielding control and power over a plaintiff, was consistently present when Defendant Perry engaged in the most recent acts as described therein. And one of the things I talked about is that plaintiff was harmed and injured in California by the defendants. So he made sure that not only he's a resident, that he can show that the injuries happened while he was a resident of California and that some of these incidents happened in the state of California. All right, so right here, this was something that I wanted to point out. This action is also timely under California's Sexual Abuse and Cover Up Accountability Act. California's Sexual Abuse and Cover Up Accountability Act. And so, what was that? I'm just going to read. So, on January 1st, 2023, this act went into effect. This law opens up a 3-year look back window, permitting survivors to file civil claims for the assault beginning on January 1st, 2023 and ending December 31st, 2026. So there is a sunrise and sunset on this. So it just allows people to open the window for 3 years. So that's what he's also filing under. Says Mr. Dixon was a resident of California from January 2023 through the end of the relevant time period, and the assault and harassment of Mr. Perry continued and extended into the relevant time period when Mr. Dixon was a resident of and working from California for Mr. Perry. Mr. Perry also resides in California. Much of the harm caused by the assaults occurred in California. On information and belief, defendant Tyler Perry has engaged in similar assaults from California. California has a strong interest in allowing its residents to recover for injuries sustained, even if the claim would be time barred in another state. Additionally, California law provides specific revival statutes for the assault claims, such as Cal Code Civic 340-16, which revives certain claims that would otherwise be time barred. Okay. Okay, Mr. Dixon was a California resident while performing work for Tyler Perry from January 2023 until his termination and is currently domiciled in California. All right. So let's get into the factual allegations. In or around September 2019, plaintiff worked for an event company called Legendary Events in Atlanta that was hired to organize defendant Perry's studio opening party. Plaintiff was recruited by Tony Conway, the owner of Legendary Events and close friend of Tyler Perry. Mr. Conway decided to place Dixon directly in a role at a party that required frequent conversations with Tyler Perry. Defendant Perry picked plaintiff out of a crowd of employees present at the party and began asking plaintiff questions about his employment status and whether plaintiff was an actor. In or around early October of 2019, and on the last day of the party, defendant Perry insisted that he and plaintiff exchange phone numbers, and Perry subsequently texted plaintiff to introduce himself. Perry began by asking Dixon about his dreams and aspirations. Dixon told Perry that he was interested in acting and writing. Perry told Dixon to do an audition over the phone and send it to Perry. Dixon told Perry that he was at a Halloween party. Perry asked to see pictures of Dixon in costume, and Dixon complied. When Perry saw the pictures, he texted Dixon, "I was going to say, your cowboy needs a sugar daddy." Perry continued with, "You look great. You're just lacking costume parts." "Sorry, don't want to offend," Dixon responded, "Not at all. It's true. Half-ass costume." Tyler, no, you won't be critiquing somebody's outfit when you can't get them wigs right. Come on, Tyler. Excuse me. I know you not critiquing outfits. When some of them outfits and them wigs and don't come at me talking about you got a costume uh director and all of this other stuff. Some things you really do need to spend a little extra. Man, let me stop. Let's see. To which Perry replied, "What's true? Cowboy needs a sugar daddy," implying that Perry wanted to be Dixon's sugar daddy. Dixon quickly shut down those comments by reiterating what he said earlier, that the truth was that he was lacking costume parts. Shortly thereafter, Dixon's boss at the legendary event called Dixon and told him that Tyler Perry was having another event in Los Angeles and specifically wanted Mr. Dixon to fly from Atlanta to Los Angeles to work on the event. Excited for the opportunity to fly to Los Angeles, Dixon was flattered and jumped on the opportunity to meet Mr. Perry again. Shortly after doing the event, in November 3rd, 2019, defendant Perry sent plaintiff several text messages that he would love to find plaintiff a job and exchange plaintiff's life and change plaintiff's life, insisting that they should make it happen. Perry sent Dixon, what turned out to be an ominous warning. "Be careful hanging around me. I cause dreamers to dream big. I cause them not only believe but do. Then let's make it happen. You're an artist. You have to be fulfilled. Nothing else will suffice." The very next day, defendant Perry sent an email which contained an offer for plaintiff to play the role of Dale in Perry's television series Ruthless. Perry said it was a small role that could get a lot bigger, thereby setting up the first stage in a series of escalating quid pro quo offers. At this point, so quid pro quo is Latin term meaning something for something or this for that. It describes an exchange where one thing is given in return for another, often implying a reciprocal relationship or an exchange of goods or services. The concept can be used in various contexts, including legal, political, and social situation. In the workplace, quid pro quo, sexual harassment occurs when a supervisor or someone in a position of power demands X favors from an employee in exchange for employee benefits like a promotion or a raise, or to avoid negative consequences like termination or demotion. This type of harassment is a violation of civil rights. So, in this early stage, let's continue. At this point, Dixon did not know that Perry was interested in men or that he was looking for a actual relationship. Dixon assumed that Tyler Perry was genuinely a caring person who discovered the talent that Dixon always felt he had. Dixon filmed his roles in Ruthless in mid November. So you just met this man in September, isn't that right? And then by November, he is filling a role. Approximately 1 month later, Perry bought, oh, so he went back to his job. Approximately 1 month later, Perry bought and gave Dixon a new car because he hated Dixon's Jeep. Dixon was surprised and elated. Dixon had no idea that he was being set up by Perry for extreme dependence. So, in 3 months, you get a call to come out to host an event in Los Angeles. Couple of months later, a month later, you're on a film set filming a role in a television series. December, he buys you a car. Excuse me. And so I'm not hearing that any sex has been exchanged at this point. On New Year's Eve 2019, Tyler Perry texted Dixon, "I can't tell you the last time I pumped gas or went to the supermarket or fly commercial or packed a bag or had good sex. It was before I was rich." Dixon found these messages to be strange and coming untowardly coming from someone like Tyler Perry. But being new to the industry, Dixon played along by downplaying the comments and hoping that being around Perry would allow him to showcase his talent as an actor and writer. Soon after Dixon began giving Perry more attention, Perry made his move on Dixon. On January of 2020, just a few months after his first acting gig, Perry invited Plaintiff to his home in Douglasville County, Georgia. Plaintiff showed up to the home, hoping that he would be given a chance to befriend Perry and show him how talented an actor Dixon was. At Perry's home, Dixon was served many alcoholic drinks, which Perry also partook in. Dixon felt that Perry was genuinely interested in Dixon's talent as an actor and a writer. Perry made no actual advances at Dixon while they were drinking, and the conversation was friendly. At the end of the night, Perry told Dixon not to drive home. Perry said it was dangerous and that Dixon was too inebriated to drive home. Dixon agreed and was escorted to a separate guest room, not knowing that this was a ruse to allow Perry to assault Dixon. Dixon was tired and did not have pajamas, so he got into bed only wearing underwear. Before he knew what was happening, Dixon felt someone else slip in bed behind him and start rubbing Dixon's body around his inner thigh in a highly sexual manner actual and suggestive manner. Dixon turned around and saw that Tyler Perry was in bed with him. At this point, Dixon's stomach started to turn and he began to feel nauseous. Instinctively, Dixon jumped out of bed and told Perry that he wasn't that actual. Tyler Perry ignored the comment and told Dixon to turn around so Perry could see him naked in his underwear. Perry then commented on how beautiful Dixon's body was. Dixon once again told Perry that he was not into the X. Dixon kept informing Perry that he was not into X in order to keep Perry at bay, and while at the same time not insulting the person who was dangling his career in front of him. In response to Dixon's frequent assertions that Dixon was not into the SCX, Perry started prying further. Perry would send Dixon a text message saying, I would hope that you would let someone hold you and make love to you. You are missing the best years of your life, my friend. Trust me. I hope you get past that block in your mind soon. Oh, Perry was implying that Dixon would hopefully get past the block in his mind and will let Tyler Perry make love to him. So let's go back up to this text message they have. I would hope that you would let someone hold you and okay, you're missing okay. We've read that. Well, it's not this person, but yes, I want that too. I'm working on it. Therapy is helping. So again, we don't have any timestamps for these text messages. And are we to understand that all of this happened on New Year's Eve 2019? After that assault in January, Dixon felt betrayed. Perry continued to call or text Dixon every day, asking to talk to him more. Dixon ignored Perry, which led Perry to text him, Derek, why didn't you text me more? The more Dixon ignored Perry, the more aggressive Perry became, until finally Perry offered Dixon a part in a new show called The Oval. Dixon was intrigued and was hoping that this would be the big break he was looking for and a chance for him to display his acting talent. On February 11, 2020, Perry told Dixon to quit his job at Legendary Events and come work exclusively for Perry. Perry was not able to control Dixon, so as long as Dixon had a secondary income that was providing for his basic needs. Once Dixon quit his job due to his role on the Oval, Perry started to get more and more personal with Dixon, knowing that Dixon was now under his control. Perry would often say things like, I give and I give and I give, and no one ever does anything for me in return. No one ever gives me what I want or what I need, implying that Nick Dixon was not giving him the sex. All right. Let me go back up. Ooh, child. Hey, CJ, I'm just reading y'all's comments right now. Defamation. Okay. Okay, so he still has a UK because I know that there's a criminal case that fell through, right, for Kevin Spacey. Because I remember seeing him. Was it the first of this year or maybe the end of last year? He did some interview talking about all that he had lost. Because I remember he had that huge show on because it was initially a British show. He had a huge show. Was it on HBO Max? I can't think of the name of it. Let's see. This case is book quid pro quo. All right. Why do people stay and allegedly use pens to record for years? Oh, don't get it if Tyler Perry is who Christian was talking about. Then there would be no Daryl because he would stop. Now they said it was because he never did say the name, as I recall from because I just watched a clip of his I call it his rant. I just watched a clip of it. He didn't say any names, but people were making the assumption that it was Tyler Perry. Yeah, because as I'm seeing this right now, I'm he's talking about the quid pro quo. So he got the job, and now he wants the sex. So we'll continue to read. I'm just not I'm just not. I'm just. We just got to read it. All right, let's continue. Perry started asking Dixon about Dixon's sexual preferences and what role Dixon took when engaging in these acts, whether he was a top or bottom, which in sexual terms means whether Dixon preferred to give or receive anal smecks. Mm, mm, mm. Perry further indicated to Dixon that he had sex with men before and that he was a top. I was going to say something ugly, but I'm going to hold my peace. Perry further told Dixon that when you have a big DICK and when you hit the G spot right on these bottoms, they go crazy. Perry further told plaintiff that he wanted a man who was in a relationship with another individual, but with whom he could be emotionally involved and engage in the X acts with, like a friend with benefits relationship, because Perry did not have time to deal with the emotional aspect of a relationship, only the physical. Well, that sounds like you needed a hoe. That's what that sounds like. And that's not hard. I'm not advocating it, y'all. I'm just saying what is being described here is something so easy that he can get to, because you can get that from, they can stay as emotionalist as you need for them to. They're just going to provide you with that. Despite these comments, Dixon knew what a full-throated refusal would land him in the doghouse and might result in his role being cut on the Oval. Fearing that his career would end before it began, Dixon put up with these comments and continued to maintain that he was not the actual type. So, is he saying with this that he was not this type? Is he saying that he was not homosexual or bisexual? And that Tyler Perry was just throwing all these hints out? How are you all responding to this? On or around March of 2020, Dixon received the script for The Oval. He was written in as a seasoned regular, so he went from being an extra in September or October of 2019 to landing a series regular position in March of 2022, March of 2020. And this was the beginning of the pandemic. Dixon received the script for The Oval. He was written, okay, and therefore was expected to quit his job with Legendary Events. Dixon's character was written as gay, homeless, and desperate store clerk who had slept with one of the other characters for a place to stay. Tyler Perry, you ought to be ashamed. You ought to be ashamed because you wrote that role and wanted that man to fulfill the role that you wrote, allegedly. More importantly, at the end of the season, his character would be shot 4 times in the chest. Dixon felt that this was a way for Perry to test Dixon out for a year and to see if he'd be loyal to Perry. When Dixon asked Perry about the shooting, Perry indicated that if Dixon did a good job, he'd be back, and that the shooting didn't necessarily mean that Dixon's character was out of the script for future season. Perry commented that Dixon's character was only shot in the chest, not the head. Lord, Dixon immediately understood that his job security depended on his relationships with Perry. From this point on, Dixon worked with the constant fear of losing his job if he did not engage with and endure with Perry's harassment. Shortly after giving Dixon this news and after telling Dixon that future seasons were dependent on Dixon doing a good job, Tyler Perry invited Dixon to his Atlanta home. Plaintiff asked questions and tried to wiggle his way out of the invitation because he remembered what happened the last time the two were alone. And that was that was New Year's. However, plaintiff knew that his job security, income, and livelihood depended on his attendance. Plaintiff had seen other employees of Perry who had experienced sudden deaths on the show when they fell on Perry's bad side. In fact, Perry had made it clear to Dixon that he would often kill characters in order to get an actor to be loyal or obedient. When Dixon arrived at the house, Tyler Perry gave Dixon a warm welcome and was very friendly. Soon after, Tyler Perry started asking Dixon a slew of actual charge questions, even asking if Dixon liked it rough in the bed. Perry then physically reached out and violently grabbed Dixon's throat in an attempt to physically choke Dixon and remarked, "Wow, look how excited you just got. You do like that." Dixon was horrified, shocked, and in a panic. Dixon never thought that Tyler Perry could get so violent and would place his hands on Dixon's throat in an actually aggressive manner. Dixon did not enjoy or consent to any of this conduct. Dixon was in shock and took steps to immediately de escalate the situation. Due to the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic in March 20, the filming for The Oval was postponed indefinitely. During the period in which filming for The Oval was postponed, Tyler Perry would make FaceTime calls and other contacts with Dixon almost daily, every day, treating Dixon as his on-call pet. Dixon felt obligated to answer for fears of losing his role, income, and career. Perry often asked about Dixon, about his whereabouts, often demanding that Dixon respond immediately. When he didn't, Perry would send text messages to Dixon stating, "Derek, girl, what are you doing?" Additionally, Perry was jealous of anyone who Dixon had a relationship with. Tyler Perry told Dixon if Dixon got COVID-19 from his roommate at the time, Dixon would not be able to shoot The Oval. Perry encouraged Dixon to move into one of the on-set studio houses owned by Perry, where Perry would have more control over Dixon's whereabouts. Thereafter, Perry would text plaintiff about other actors on his show, Ruthless. Perry told Dixon how he manipulates employees through ruthless retaliation. Perry told Dixon that if he did not like the way an actor behaved or the way the actor was acting, the character would simply die in season 2. Dixon understood that Perry was informing Dixon to be cautious about disappointing or upsetting Perry. So he continued to put up with it. They had a conversation on April of 2020. Perry told Dixon that Perry imagined Dixie prancing around in the cowboy outfit. Now, you remember earlier he was criticizing his cowboy outfit, and that Perry did things to Dixon that he couldn't talk with Dixon about any further because they were so wrong. On or about April of 2020, while Dixon was living in the studio homes on set, Perry often coerced Dixon to drink alcohol and then get on the phone with Perry. Perry would frequently have someone drop off alcohol at Dixon's door. Perry would eventually turn these phone calls into actually explicit rants. Perry would get frustrated with Dixon and tell Dixon that he was not giving Perry what he needs. Dixon's refusal to succumb to Perry's advances caused Perry to be even more frustrated. Eventually, Perry warned Dixon that if Dixon told his castmates about the harassment, Dixon would be opening himself to lots of questions and foolishness, and demanded that Dixon not discuss their conversation with his classmates. All right, let's read that. Listen to me. This is the text. Again, you see the blue up there, so you know that there's context. We are missing the context because there's something up here that we're not seeing. So they're just going to show this. Listen to me. If you let the cast know that you and I have a new friendship, then you are opening yourself up to a lot of questions and foolishness. You want them to know that you are there because of your talent, not because we have a friendship or because Tony got me to give you a job. You earned your spot like everyone else. Don't give people an opportunity to play you small, or they will. I can't teach you everything. Unfortunately, there are some things you'll have to learn for yourself. Because when we go back to work, I'm not going to know you. I don't have any friends that work for me. My friend, professionalism is key. He says, you're totally right. I hope you get it, my friend. That makes total sense. Just watch the behavior of everyone around me on set. Yeah, I will. Don't want to give anyone the opportunity because work is work. So it says here Perry continued to harass Dixon on June 27, 2020. Defendant Perry texted Dixon that all he wanted for his birthday were biscuits and BJ's. But that all Perry ever received were biscuits, insinuated a request for oral X from Dixon. This text was followed by other messages calling Dixon cute, cutie, and that Perry was just thinking about Dixon. Do we see those texts? I don't see those texts anywhere. Hold up. Where are those texts? Despite these advances, Dixon continued to act professionally and continued to tell Perry he was not sexual. See, I don't understand this terminology because he has said it several times. So again, am I to assume that he's either talking about that he is not homosexual or bisexual, or that he did not want to participate in this? Wording throws me off and I don't understand it. That seems the only way of keeping Perry at bay while keeping his job. In July of 2020, Perry remarked about how much he loved the script for Dixon's television series called Losing It and exclaimed that he wanted to shoot the pilot. Perry would never really work toward that goal. And what Perry was really doing was making Mr. Dixon more dependent on Perry so that Perry could later extract actual favors from Dixon as a quid pro quo to produce the pilot. So all I'm seeing under this quid pro quo is he got a job, he got a car, he was living in the set apartment. In or around August 20, Dixon and his castmate began shooting for the Oval after delays due to COVID-19, during which time all castmate and crew lived on the studio set in a quarantine bubble. Okay, so at that point we could take that back because everybody had to live in the studio apartments. Shortly after, Perry confided in Dixon that two cast members were pissing him off and that Perry swore that he knew how to fix that shit. Ooh. Perry added that he loves killing a MFer in a show that no one expects. that he was going to shoot them all and kill all the mofo characters, referring to killing off the characters overplayed by actors who Perry wanted to retaliate against. So let's read this text. So I guess here in the gray is Tyler Perry. It says, "But I swear to you, I know how to fix this shit. I love killing a mother effer in a show that no one expects. You could be sipping a Mai Tai and counting coconuts right now. Think about the last episode. They are all shot at. We don't know who lives." And Dixon says, "Exactly. I'm scared. They should be too." "Nope, they're not. Last I checked, we all got the same bullets." More importantly, Perry stated in one text message, "I may need to shoot the shoot out early," which Dixon understood to mean that unless the actors knew that they were going to die and that their time on the show was over, they wouldn't change their ways. Perry was going to film the shootout early so that actors would be more submissive to Perry's request. They are stupid to think that. So stupid. I'm gonna have to cut. I'm gonna have a come to Jesus moment with them. I think I'm gonna shoot them all. Shoot them all get shot. He said, "That'll do it." They'll be like, "Wait," well, gonna be looking crazy. "I may need to shoot early. Shoot out early. Like Tuesday, or maybe okay, that Beyonce song on the loudspeaker for everybody." I was just about to text you this. Perry intentionally made these comments to instill fear in Dixon. Mr. Dixon now knew that he too would lose his job if Dixon did not play ball. So basically, instead of making a decision that there were going to be some people who weren't going to come back next year, if he got upset with you, if he got mad with you, he would then film a situation of where multiple people on the set would meet the same fate, but nobody would know whether or not they'll be back the next year. Let's continue. He talked about his pilot. Let me make sure that I'm on the same page. All right. Once on the stage, Once the stage was set, Perry knew he could get away with his harassment. During the filming of The Oval in 2020, Perry engaged in a severe and pervasive tirade of actual commentary, including but not limited to that he liked to be choked. Why did you twist your hips when you walk? How can I get a day of Dixon? When will you be thick again? How I love to, how I love how I feel right now, but I don't like being horny. I feel sorry for the first person who flirts with me. I've been trying to put that energy somewhere else, but eventually is actual this stuff. That snake across the table made me think of photo of Nicki Minaj from the music video for her song Anaconda, in which she references intercourse with male genitalia symbolized by a snake. I would gladly choke you right now. A suggestion that Dixon should get braces behind his teeth, but that plaintiff would have to give up BJ's, and that it could be dangerous for Dixon's partner, especially if they're not circumcised. That when you were thick Derek, fun Derek, drunk Derek, before COVID Derek, I miss him just without a butt. So apparently Derek lost some weight during the pandemic. And that was not appealing as it needed to have been. He liked thick Derek. Thick Derek would have worked them pants out. Perry also photographed Dixon's buttocks while on set and sending the pictures to Dixon. 2 text messages of many show that Perry was jealous of seeing Dixon with other men and that Perry described Dixon as beautiful. And we've read those up and before, and we won't read them again. Except for let's see what he says, except for this little section right here. He says, I feel sorry for the person that you choose. And Dixon says, and I won't even take an aspirin from someone anymore. Ha ha ha. I would cry if that wasn't so funny. Why? What I mean by that is that you're so beautiful. When you finally are able to unlock your mind, you're going to make that person crazy. This series of comments and other unwanted actual references made Dixon highly uncomfortable. Dixon was caught in a bind. He could not complain to anyone in HR. He had no one to turn for relief from the harassment, and he knew that if he did not endure it, he would be killed off from the Oval. Dixon was unsure whether to joke back or rebuff Perry's harassment, so he endured it, knowing that his job was on the line if he didn't engage. Perry had also shared intimate details of his own ex-life with Dixon. Among other things, Perry would tell Dixon that he had not had good ex since he became rich, and there were certain times where he had not been touched in months. On the second to the last day of shooting for the Oval, Dixon filmed the episode where the character was shot 4 times, indicating a seemingly end to his role on the show and his termination from the job. It was precisely following this day of filming, when Tyler Perry knew that Dixon's character's fate was to be decided, that Perry invited Dixon to his trailer for drinks. Dixon knew that refusing meant the end of his career, so he accepted. It was there on the very same day that Perry dialed up the harassment to a new level. Tyler Perry asked Derek Dixon point blank, "Are you attracted to me?" and demanded that Dixon answer. Plaintiff reiterated the same way he did after the first assault by skirting the question. Dixon told Perry that Dixon wasn't that sexual or looking for anything. Perry's incessant probing did not stop. Perry continued to talk about how good looking and sexy Dixon was, and that plaintiff was wasting his looks by not being free and having sex. Okay, so this text is describing what he says. We're going to continue. Dixon repeatedly deflected these comments with neutral answers, consistently looking for ways to avoid Tyler Perry's interrogation while continuing to worry about his future on the Oval. After enduring the harassment and doing his best to dodge the situation, Dixon got up and the two exchanged goodbyes. As Dixon was leaving Perry's trailer, Perry got up and pinned Dixon to the wall. Perry began aggressively groping Dixon's buttocks in an actual motion. Tyler Perry began reaching down towards Dixon's buttocks and groped Dixon's butt in a strong sexual manner that could not have been a mere accident. Dixon stood frozen in horror and could not reciprocate or fight back. All Dixon could do was let his body go cold and limp. Seeing that Dixon had no desire in Perry, Perry told Dixon that he was drunk and asked Dixon to leave the trailer. As Dixon left the trailer following Perry's violent assault, Dixon became severely nauseous and extremely anxious about his career, livelihood, his job, career, and livelihood. Dixon felt trapped within the confines of the studio's quarantine bubble. There was still another shoot the next day. Dixon called his friend Justin Bryant on the phone and told him everything that happened, and was unaware of any human resources representative to whom he can report the assault. Plaintiff had no one to turn to and nowhere to go to save him from Perry's aggressive harassment and exploitation. The next day, Perry acted like nothing happened, and this time he didn't even offer Dixon an apology. Following this, because you remember he said, when we on set, I don't know you. You were safe for being on set because he don't know you. Following this exchange, Dixon began to avoid Perry as much as possible. However, Dixon still felt the need to answer Perry's incessant text messages, so he changed his approach. Dixon often pretended to be asleep to avoid being harassed by Perry. However, Perry persisted by texting Dixon the following messages: "Are you awake? Stop ignoring me. You're awake, Derek. Wake up. I know you're not sleeping and give me attention. Wow. In or around early October of 2020, Perry invited Dixon and other actors from the Oval on a cast trip to Perry's personal island in the Bahamas. Tough. Dixon knew, as did everyone else on the show, that declining to go on this trip might cause Perry to erase you from the show. Dixon agreed to go, knowing that the whole cast was going to be there. One night, while in the Perry's private island on the Bahamas, the cast was having a party. At the end of the night, Perry told Dixon that he wanted to talk to him. Dixon was caught off guard. Perry made alcoholic drinks and forced Dixon to drink with him. Dixon knew that he could not refuse the drinks, otherwise, he would risk upsetting Mr. Perry. Instead, Dixon tried to stay in control and slip drinks slowly. Tyler Perry did not control himself. He drank until it was clear that the alcohol had made him bold and aggressive. Perry told Dixon that he wanted a relationship with someone who could be emotionally and actually available to him, but also be permissive of Perry having his own relationship with someone else. Perry said that he could see himself having that type of relationship with Dixon. Perry insisted that Dixon needed to be with someone rich because Dixon liked nice things. Perry told Dixon that he was watching all the cast as they laid out in the sun with tanning oil. Perry continued raving about how seeing Dixon greased up greased up like that was driving him crazy. Tyler Perry said he would have burned the whole island down if one of the other actors or anyone else from the group had touched him that night. At that point, he once again aggressively seized Dixon and groped his. Tyler. Dixon once again did not reciprocate and froze. Perry got the message and told Dixon to go to bed. At what point I guess I'm confused. At what point do you give up? Because every time you try, he does not reciprocate. And at what point do you feign that you have COVID or something and just get out of this man's presence? Because every time you go to his presence, and you have reported this is the third or the fourth time that you've been in his presence, you have been drinking the alcohol, and he gropes you. Now, I'm not blaming victims of any kind. I'm just trying to figure all of this out. From that moment on, Perry became extremely frustrated and possessive. Perry wanted desperately for Dixon to be attracted to him, but Dixon was nice. So this is from Tyler Perry. Dixon says, nice picture. Yeah, the water does look calm. Nice picture. And then he was like, great, amazing, awesome picture. You don't see that stud in the nice picture? Rude. LOL. That's a stud. And then he calls him an a-hole. I'm going to be nice. Perry got the message and told Dixon to go to bed. Dixon was terrified and could barely sleep. From that moment on, Perry became extremely frustrated and possessive. Perry wanted desperately for Dixon to be attracted to him, but Dixon was not. Then they talk about this exchange, and we just read that. On or about October 18, 2020, and following Dixon's return from the Bahamas. And the reason why I paused, because I'm looking at these dates, and then I'm coupling that with the Sexual Abuse and Cover Up Accountability Act. And it says it opens the window from January 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2026. And all of these things so far have happened in 2020. So let's see where it falls within all of that. Because I think it doesn't have to be but one occurrence. But so far, most of these occurrences have happened between 2019 and 2020. On or about October 18, 2020, and following Dixon's return from the Bahamas, Perry told Dixon that he was jealous that Dixon was giving too much attention to other men. Perry stated that Dixon was being too much of a social butterfly and that he would need Dixon to sit still this week, further attempting to exercise his influence over Dixon's interaction with other men. So I am concluding just from this thing that Dixon is either bisexual or homosexual, allegedly. Perry continued to wield his position as Dixon's boss, demanding actual attention in exchange for his continued employment. These text messages were followed by others to Dixon like Derek. Don't you dare ignore me. I deserve better. I deserve attention all the time. Dixon, out of fear of the unknown future of his career, continued to give Perry the social attention he demanded, even though Dixon would constantly get harassed. So he would say, so here's a text message. You know what I cook? Derek. Spaghetti, cake, you. I'm so drunk talking SHIT. On several occasions, Perry would text Dixon while drunk. On one exchange, Perry told Dixon, well, we just read that. In December of 2020, Dixon began feeling depleted due to Perry's continued pattern of harassment. The assault and harassment began manifesting in his physical health, and Mr. Dixon had no one to turn to. Dixon visited a physician who indicated that Dixon's exhibited severe symptoms of acute stress, insomnia, stomach issues, and dangerously low cortisol levels due to the harassment and assault. Interesting. Because in women, our cortisol levels go sky high. The physician prescribed Zoloft, an antidepressant, for Dixon's ailments. The harassment continued through the beginning of 2021. Perry continued sending Dixon unsolicited photos of Dixon's bodies from the set of the Oval. And then he made these comments, and you can see them. I'm going to highlight them, and you can read them there. We'll continue. I'll highlight them and you can read them there. There's a whole lot of them. Nope, I can't deal with thick. I can't deal with thick Garrick. What's going on? What is it going to take for you to have the guiltless? Still's talking about this guiltless SEX. What's your waist? I'm so glad Thick Derek is back. So let's read the comments. So this is going to go down through. He goes through a series of texts. He goes through his stuff. So let's read what the text says. You are the rose, but you're so blocked that you refuse to be smelt or open. And he says here, I know I need to smell the roses more. He says that was Derek. And then Tyler says, you are the rose, but you're so blocked that you refuse to be smelt or opened. That's sweet. And I'm working on it. Therapy. I'm really scared that I'm going to waste my life worrying. He said, been there. Stopped somewhere in my late 30s and early 40s. And he talks about when you finally are able to unlock your mind, you're going to make that person crazy in a good way. Have you been intimate with someone? Why did that photo make me jealous? You two together. Thick Derek, get that Chipotle. No, I can't. Only from your jeans. Derek is there to make me swoon. What I mean by that is that you're beautiful. When you're finally able to unlock your mind, you're going to make that person crazy in a good way. And Dixon responded, as long as my face doesn't get messed up, as long as it doesn't leave a mark. And Tyler responded, what will leave a mark, Derek? Say it. On your neck? What do you mean you haven't? Have you been intimate with someone? Child. I can't wait to get that phone call from you when you tell me you let go and let love and you loved every minute of it. No straight man will be going on walks with you or cooking dinner for you unless they wanted to F you. I would F you. What are you doing hanging out with that girlfriend of yours? She wants you too. Everybody wants to F Jacob, referring to Dixon's character on the pilot of Losing It. So they're just giving us what the text messages say, but they're not giving us the physical form of the text messages because we can see the other ones, but they're not giving us now. Again, they could be saving that for the court. I don't know, but they're just kind of just describing what's going on. And this goes on several weeks. On June 4th of 2021, he invited Dixon over to the house again. Although Dixon hesitated, he feared the consequences. Again, the alcohol beverages, Perry's probing his life. And it's time to end the night. Perry leads Dixon to the guest bedroom. He wanted him to get on this monitor with his underwear on. He weighed himself. After weighing himself, Dixon walked toward the guest bedroom, followed by Perry, who then asked Dixon for a goodnight hug. Rather than argue, Dixon complied, at which point Perry reached out and yanked Dixon's underwear down from behind. Then Perry began to vigorously grab, grope, and play with Dixon's buttocks in a very actual manner. Dixon was naked, stunned, and seized by tremendous fear. Dixon started to tell Perry that he did not want his underwear down, that Dixon didn't want to be naked. He didn't want this. Dixon quickly reached to pull his underwear back up. As soon as he did, Perry grabbed Dixon's reaching arm with a tight grip and held fast. Terry told Derek Dixon to relax and just let it happen, and that Perry wasn't going to hurt. It wasn't going to hurt. Perry continued to grope his buttocks. Dixon's anxiety rapidly escalated, thinking that he might be AR'd. Dixon was not sure what to do, and his breath shortened. Perry ignored Dixon's refusal and held Dixon's hands fast, preventing him from reaching for his underwear. Dixon was naked, being groped by a large, drunk, and actually frustrated 6'5" man who had Dixon in his clutches. Dixon did not know if he was going to have to get into a physical fight, but he knew that any efforts to fight back was hopeless. Perry had armed security at his gate, was much larger than Dixon, and told Dixon that he had several guns in his home. Dixon was desperate for a way out and remarked that he couldn't do anything extra because he was so hungry, attempting to change the conversation. Dixon asked if there's any food up here, which prompted Perry to withdraw and order a pizza. Dixon, in fear of his safety, followed Perry into the main house to eat the pizza. Afterward, Dixon returned to the guest house and, unable to lock the bedroom door, locked himself in the guest house bathroom and slept on the floor. Dixon then attempted to contact some close friends about the incident. The following morning, Dixon realized he left his car keys in the main house, and upon going to retrieve them, encountered Perry. Perry told Dixon that last night's incident was why the two shouldn't drink together, and that the previous night incident should have happened. Dixon responded by saying, "Oh, so that was my fault?" To which Perry replied, No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that shouldn't have happened, and I drank too much. But y'all have had 4 occasions where all of this has happened. 4 occasions. Attempting to excuse himself for grabbing Dixon's buttocks, groping Dixon, and attempting to have sex with Dixon against his will. At this point, Dixon left Perry's home, uncontrollably shaking, and contacted his close friend to discuss the unspeakable horror from the night before. For the next several days until June 2021, Perry texted and called Dixon incessantly, with messages asking Dixon to call him or answer his calls. Dixon answered, at which point Perry began to apologize, blaming the testosterone supplements he was taking at the time. Perry had confided in Dixon about these supplements in past messages and decided to use them as a scapegoat for his action. Dixon emphasized that he was not okay with what happened. So let's see what these text messages may say. They're talking about making money. Okay, so this must be Dixon in the blue. How do they make money then? Subscription? Perry. They make money from the advertising, lots of money. I love how I feel right now, but I don't like to be horny. Testosterone. Oh, yeah, from the doctor, but it's making you feel better. He says, I feel so good, but I don't like being horny. I feel sorry for the person that flirts with me, LOL. So he's mentioned this before. So this is a text messages. So now we're getting dates. No, we just get a date on this one. Tried you, call me. Hey, I think the hangover hit me harder than I thought. Can we talk later? Yes. It was quick, but okay. So that one's at June 5th. And then June 6th, I really need to talk to you, my friend. Please call as soon as you can. Trying to do rooms on the boat. If I invite Bill, will it be okay? Will you be okay sharing a room with him? Hey, I appreciate the invite, but I think I need some more times and I don't think I can go on a trip just yet. Dixon responded that he would not board the yacht and refused. Let me see. Let's go back up. Perry further attempted to rectify his misconduct by inviting Dixon on a yacht trip, telling Dixon that Perry was for sure going to make Dixon's pilot. Dixon realized that Perry was offering to make losing it effectively to silence Dixon. Perry sent a message trying to arrange for Dixon to come on his yacht with another person so that Dixon would feel more comfortable. Dixon responded that he would not board the yacht and refused Perry's party. After Dixon refused to go on the yacht, Perry did not text Dixon for 5 months. Sensing that Dixon was upset, Perry called Dixon once to update him that Perry was looking for a director for the pilot. During this 5-month period, Dixon was regularly in therapy. He suffered from depression, anxiety. Dixon was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, and his therapist recommended that he seek outpatient treatment, costing upwards to $20,000, a price too high for Dixon at the time. I'm curious, was he a member of SAG? Did he not qualify for the insurance? Because I hear that insurance with SAG is good. I mean, they even paid for cosmetic surgery, from what I understand. During that time, Dixon began speaking with people about the S assaults and was assessing his rights. So this is 2021. As soon as Perry realized that Dixon was done talking to him, Dixon got a message from Perry's fixers. Perry's fixers contacted Dixon and indicating Dixon's character in The Oval, the one who was just shot, would be returning with a new storyline next season, and Dixon was receiving a graduated raise from $10,000 per episode to $16,000 per episode that would continue to increase to upwards of $19,000 per episode over the coming seasons. The attorney says that Christmas came early for Dixon because he was doing a good job on The Oval. However, they told Dixon he was forbidden from letting his castmates know about the raise because nobody other than him would be receiving similar pay. Lastly, the fixers told Dixon that Perry wanted to buy the right to produce the pilot of Losing It and planned to spend up to $1 million producing the pilot. Dixon immediately knew why he was getting this raise and why the pilot was being produced. He knew he could keep the money and the job or complain about the harassment, but not both. The situation facing Dixon presented a challenging decision that left him unable to take any action or make any decision. The prospect of the assault and the harassment becoming public and dealing with Perry's highly paid attorneys was daunting. Perry had significant resources where Dixon did not. Dixon's goals of working as an actor and being discovered for his talents might be jeopardized. In what was an extremely difficult decision, Dixon bowed to the pressure and fear of losing his livelihood in hope of advancing his career. Dixon did yeah. Dixon decided to return to the set and have his pilot produced. He insisted, however, and decided to put safeguards in place between him and Perry. Okay, so now we're in November 2021. He returned to shoot the Oval, and it was then when he saw Perry for the first time in person since June 21 assault. Dixon suffered from a panic attack in his trailer, prompting another actor to calm Dixon down. Seeing Dixon that upset, Perry knew that he had to up the ante to ensure Dixon's silence. Perry began periodically testing plaintiffs regarding the production of the pilot of Losing It to string Dixon along. Soon after, Dixon received a call from a member of Perry's production team telling him that they were considering shooting Dixon's pilots in the fall of 2021. Dixon was desperate for this good news given the uncertainty surrounding his finances and concern for his future. On or around March 4th, 2022, Dixon signed the literary purchase agreement for the pilot, giving the rights for the series to defendant TPS. Dixon was unaware that TPS pre-existing television contracts with Viacom CBS, now known as Paramount Global, which would later prevent the sale of Dixon's show to any media outlets or streaming services for 2 years. So on or about March 21st, 2020, shortly after seeing each other on the set of The Oval, Dixon and Perry began shooting the pilot. Perry called Dixon following the shoot, telling him that the show would net 2 to 3 million per episode and run for 2 seasons guaranteed. Perry purchased the rights to Losing It from Dixon, but did not try to sell it to any network. In fact, Perry was under contract with Viacom CBS, preventing him from selling Dixon's show for an additional 2 years following the purchase. In other words, Perry spent money shooting a pilot for a show, then purchasing the rights to it, knowing that Perry could not sell the show for 2 years. Clearly, this was done for the ulterior motive of silencing Mr. Dixon. As it turns out, Perry had no intention of ever producing Losing It. Perry never made any effort to sell the show or shop it. Perry was only using the show as a quid pro quo to Dixon, holding its production over Dixon's head like the sword of Damocles. Okay. So basically, from what I get from that, Dixon didn't know that Viacom had this in Tyler Perry's contract that if he presents a show, he couldn't shop this show for another 2 years. So this is what he's saying in the contract. But then he's saying that, so is he saying that since Perry knew that, he was stringing him along? He was stringing him along so that he would continue to effectively be his boy toy? So here we are. We're in April 2022, y'all. And let me stop here and see what you all are talking about. All right. I, You know what annoys me is that the text with the juicy stuff they haven't embedded though. They just give little uh quotations to them. But these texts, those texts, I'm just like, we're losing the context. We haven't seen all the text, but again, they may not show all the text. But I'm that's what annoys me. That if you're going to talk about these things that he said in a very salacious manner, at least one or two of those texts you should have embedded in. Exactly. This is, I mean, there would be someone who can be detached and just be on call for you. You can set them up in a room and they would be on call for you. Yeah, I don't understand that. I don't understand that. It this is real unnecessary. This is playing games. Him and Diddy were using real life people instead of just hiring someone, but someone said it was a rush. Possibly. Still not convinced this wasn't mutual because I'm trying to figure out. You remember that wording that he didn't want to be the sexual. It's interesting to me. You know what? And here's the thing, because see, I learned this. What is her name? Attorney Simone. That these lawsuits, they have these companies and things like that have a certain type of insurance, and these lawsuits triggers those insurance, and so in this setting and things like that, he could clearly be if those insurance companies have to pay this money out for this lawsuit. Surely I don't think that he's going to get $260 million, but you know he may get 10, 15, 20 million. But if those lawsuits have to pay it, if he's CEO of this company or something, they may ask him to after he pays that insurance, they may ask him to step down. So yeah, this is a lot. Well, if you believe that Christian Keys was talking to him, if it was Tyler Perry, he has done this, at least now, if with this lawsuit and whatever all the stuff that Christian Keys talked about, he's done it at least twice, and he's not. He's not. And the thing of it is, you were in one particular show, and now you're in another show, and you were a regular. At this point, now I can understand about the pandemic and all. Excuse me for all this yawning. I do apologize, but still, they were still working scripts and hiring actors and stuff like that, and particularly in 2020, 2022, 2021, 2022, they started hiring and doing shows and stuff like that. Whoever was his agent, I would have definitely had been on the phone with them. Hey, see if I can, even if it was just a commercial, a bit part or something that you can do outside of that and have it booked and ready so that you just, when he start cutting up, you could leave. Mm. Yeah, it's sounding a little crazy. Hey, Gray, thank you for coming to the chat. Oh. Hmm. 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 Okay. There's so much I want to say, but I can't put it in my mind correctly, and I don't want to say something out of point. It's a lot. Not you. Who? Oh my goodness. Yes. Well, he knew the deal because you did. Because as I was reading, you remember he was talking about he was discussing it to see what his options was. He knew back in 2020, the end of 2020 going into 2021. He knew what was going on. Yep. It's a lot. It's a lot. Hey, hey, hey. Pop on in. Sometimes it's easier for me to go live than to try to do this as a video and edit and all that other stuff. Sometimes I just get lazy on that point. Yeah, this is just it's not and again, because I've said this about the Diddy case. It is not a Perry Mason moment. You're not gonna get, it's not Law and Order SVU. We're not gonna figure it out in the hour. Things are just boring and everything like that. But he's gonna have to come with more receipts. So here we are on April 9th, 2022. To his surprise, plaintiff received the script for another season of The Oval, which is fine, in which the plaintiff's character, originally written as a grocery store clerk, would play a male prostitute being pursued by a pimp. This character scenes and stories share eerie similarities. Okay, I said that before. While it's not surprising that one of Perry's characters would end up this way, the timing of the change to Dixon was a very clear message. As Dixon continued to read through his scripts, he started to notice that Perry included lines taken directly from things that Perry and Dixon spoke about. Oh, now that is sorry. Perry started to base the script on real life and made it personal. For example, Perry wrote about Dixon. I don't like none of my bitches running away. He was making good money for me. In or around April 2022, before beginning to shoot the next season of The Oval, Perry called Dixon to discuss the June 2021 assault. On the phone, Perry lectured Dixon about how Dixon was overreacting to the assault because of prior assaults in Dixon's life. Excuse me? Perry said that there was a misunderstanding and miscommunication, and that Dixon, quote, needed to say no stronger. Okay, we went over this before. Let's continue. And we can't even read those text messages. All right, so now we're getting in 2023. And why is that important? Again, this is where the Sexual Abuse and Accountability Act went into effect, and they said that they can sue for in within this time period for stuff that has happened. So in or around January of 2023, plaintiff indicated that he was moving to Santa Monica. He did so to put some distance between himself and Perry. Tyler Perry replied that he was glad to hear that Dixon was moving away and asked if Dixon's no was stronger before he left. Perry reiterated that Dixon should have had a strong no and made it clear when he said no. This was Perry's way of once again referring to his June 2021 assault of Dixon and making it clear that Perry felt no remorse for assaulting Dixon against Dixon's will. Dixon remained calm considering these triggering comments. Because he needed Perry to help him with his dream of producing a show, and because Dixon was still a regular on the Oval. Even after Dixon moved to California, the quid pro quo harassment and attempts to cover up the assault by promising a show continued. Perry would call Dixon, who felt obligated to pick up Perry's phone and respond to text messages. These conversations would often start about work and the men's business relationship and then transition to further conversations about Dixon's ex life, adding to Dixon's trauma. On or about October 2023, Tyler Perry finally contacted Dixon, indicating that he was going to be finished with his Paramount Global contract in January 2024 and that he will be able to start working on selling Losing It. Perry was just hoping that the statute of limitations would run out on Dixon's assault claim before closing the door on Dixon, hope, and on the quid pro quo that Perry offered for Dixon's silence. In the same conversation where they are talking about Perry starting to do things with Losing It, Tyler Perry also asked Dixon who he was having X with. Perry further pushed for details, asking Dixon if he was the giver or this receiver in this scenario. All right, here we go. In December 2023, Christian Keys, another actor who worked for Perry prior to Dixon's employment, posted a video on social media platforms detailing his abusive experience with an anonymous Black Hollywood billionaire, which Dixon pieced together and believed to be Tyler Perry. So here is a link to if you want to go see that or a story about it. Dixon heard Mr. Key's account and saw that Perry had been engaging in the same conduct as other actors. Just like the interactions described by Keys, Perry would get drunk, start fondling, da 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 da. Around this time, Perry called Dixon, indicating that he really wanted to find a home for Dixon's television series, again perpetuating the quid pro quo. Then in January of 2024, Perry told Dixon to begin working on a pitch deck for investors for the pilot. Despite having 8 episodes written, Perry only produced one, claiming that the president of his company, Michelle Sneed, conveniently misplaced the $1 million that were going to be used for the show. Tyler Perry, how does somebody misplace $1 million? Isn't it sitting in an account somewhere? During this time, Perry further solicited Dixon's assistance with other film projects that Tyler Perry was working on. Once again, Dixon was in a position where he could not say no. So let's read this text. Can I call you later or tomorrow? He says, you have a really fresh voice and take on things. I don't know where this is going, but I laughed the entire time. I can see the world and the characters. My exclusivity ends in 30 days. I want to take Losing It out to Amazon or Netflix after that and gauge their interest. But I also want to try and get you with the right people to help you make these shows work. They are not for my audience, but we need to find a home for this stuff. I don't want to miss another Schitt's Creek. You know that Eugene bought that to me first, but I didn't get it. Amon gets here tomorrow, so he has my full attention. I'll be trapped until the day after Christmas, so let's talk. Wow. I was worried you'd even like it because it's a weird concept, so thank you. In or around March 20th, 2024, Tyler Perry indicated to Derek that the individuals who was meant to pitch the pilot became depressed and could no longer pitch the show. This was another excuse for the fact that Perry never liked the show and never intended to sell it. Dixon did not get angry and allowed Perry more time to figure things out for the show. Mistakenly sensing that Dixon had forgiven him, Perry started back up with the harassment. Perry continued to harass Dixon, who was still working on the Oval and who was still waiting eagerly for Perry to sell losing it. Perry would tell Dixon that he loved Dixon, that Dixon should be living his life, and that Dixon should be having Exmoor. Perry even indicated that he would send Dixon's show to Peter Friedlander at Netflix. But all of this was just an attempt to remind Dixon of the sword of Damocles hanging over his neck. Later, Perry told Dixon that Netflix turned down the show. Dixon was never contacted by any individual from Netflix regarding the show, and no sale materialized. Would he be contacted since he sold the rights to Tyler Perry? In or around June of 2024, Perry, sensing Dixon was getting frustrated about his show not getting off the ground and still concerned about the actual assault being made public, offered Dixon a position as a writer on Perry's show, indicating that he needed a replacement to continue writing. All right, chat. What do we know about Tyler Perry and writers? What do we know about Tyler Perry and writers? If you know, put it down in the comment. What do we know about Tyler Perry and writers? All right, I'm going to continue. It was only then that Dixon woke up and realized that Perry was never going to be serious about helping Dixon. Perry was only going to do things for Dixon if Dixon played along with the harassment. Thank you. Woo, Tyler Perry tried it. He really, truly tried it. We know he had a whole, was it an ABC 2020 interview where he talked about how he was burned by writers, how they wanted so much money and they didn't work like him. The work ethic was different, and he just rather write his own show. And this is why a lot of the shows that you get from Tyler Perry are so very similar. It was only then that Dixon woke up and realized he was never going to be serious about helping Dixon. Perry was only doing things for Dixon if Dixon played along with the harassment and the assault. Perry was only interested in preventing Dixon from exposing the dark side of Tyler Perry. Perry only cared that people still viewed him as the victim he once was, even now as he took the shape of a victimizer. Dixon became sick to his stomach. Rather than continue down this path, Dixon took the heroic step of reporting the harassment to EEOC. And if you have followed the Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively case, you remember she had, before they can file these harassment charges in California, you have to get permission from that EEOC to see if you have enough to be able to file. After reporting the harassment, defendant didn't make any investigations into the complaint and did not take any steps to prevent further harassment from occurring. Because defendant took no action to prevent further assault or harassment, Dixon had to quit his job working on the last season of The Oval. Dixon did so even though he was under contract to finish filming and stood to make close to $400,000. Dixon did not want to be harassed or placed in danger of assault again. Defendant then retaliated against Dixon. Defendant told Dixon that if he quit and told others actors why he quit, he would be in breach of his contract. Defendant told Dixon that the only way out was to portray his departure from the show as a medical leave due to the emotional distress caused by the harassment. The leave of absence would be paid medical leave. Instead, defendant made the leave of absence unpaid and therefore terminated plaintiff's employment, causing Dixon additional income loss. So I'm not going to go over the causes of action because they're just going to repeat all the stuff, but I will just tell you what they are. All right, so he's got the quid pro quo of the actual harassment. He's got work environment harassment. He's got actual harassment, workplace gender violence, violation of the Bain Act, and we read that. He's talking about actual battery, actual assault, negligent retention, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and retaliation. And that's going to make up the other 10 pages. And we're not going to go over those other 10 pages because they're just going to do a little repeat. But what do you all think about this lawsuit, y'all? Baby. I don't know, y'all. So he did go to EEOC. They obviously gave him the green light to be able to sue. And once he decided to sue, looked like Tyler Perry just stopped fooling with him and took him as that he was going to be out on medical leave or medical leave, but still didn't pay him his money. I think they're going to settle out of court. I really do think that this will be settled out of court. I think that there's not going to be $260 million worth of settlement. But I think that they're going to settle out of court. That's just what I think about this harassment and this charge. I think that they're going to completely settled out of court. Because one, he has text messages again. Now the context of these text messages, we can't see it. I don't know what's going on, but he's got text messages along the way, and I'm quite sure Tyler Perry doesn't want any of these text messages or anything untoward to come out. So I'm quite sure that he is going to settle out of court. I think he is. Well, I would say that if he's very big on protecting his reputation, and because of his audience, because we all know that his audience are Black women between the ages of a big huge part of his audience between about 30 and 70 years old, and most of them are very staunch Christian women, and he wants to protect that. That audience has had him paid for 20 years now, and he wants to protect that. And so he definitely will settle. And come back and make the excuse, hey, it went away, because once you settle, none of that has to be public. He can do NDAs or whatever it is that they do when they settle, and he can come back to his audience and say, see, it went away. It was nothing. But again, I don't think that he would have to pay the 200 and something million dollars. But if he wants this if he wants this to go away, he's going to settle. I just think he's going to settle. Do I like this kind of stuff? Because I think it's almost kind of a little bit of extortion. However, and like I've said in the Diddy trial, there are so many folk that are willing to do these things without all of, that are willing to do these things without all of that harassment and coercion and putting people's heads between washers and dryers and all of this other stuff. I don't understand. If that is something that you say you want, there are people that are able to give you those things that you want. Now, I'm not advocating anything illegal. I'm not advocating anything. I am just speaking facts. There are people in this world who would do stuff like that for the price that he's talking about. So I just think it is, if he wants to continue doing this, but going forward, and like I said, and I don't know, I have to go back to Attorney Simone's TikTok and see what that those insurances. But there's these policies and these insurance things that if he doesn't want to be in jeopardy of being let go as the CEO of his own company and all this other stuff, he's going to make waves and try to settle this stuff. Now, I think that's it's so unavoidable because we are such a litigious country that people are going to keep coming out and doing everything. And my answer or my question is, are there people to be able to do that? Is this something in a pattern that you do? Because even backing up, and I've said this before, if you have predilections that will cause for you to lose everything, you engaging in these predilections are going to cause you to do everything. You're going to have to figure something out. You can't be out here with your employees out here doing all of this mess because there are clubs you can join that have a level of anonymity. Again, there are people out here that do something strange for a little change. An apartment in a Jeep that you purchased, this man. And some spending cash in a black card. I'll say it and I'll keep saying it until I'm blue in the face. You will have to figure that stuff out, or this is going to come out. Now, for me, it's great content. But if you all are in these positions like this, and you were texting, y'all leave these paper trails. And it just could be my generation. I don't trust if I'm doing something nefarious or something like that. We gotta meet face to face with clothes that have no pockets and shirts and blouses so tight so I can see if you got or something. And he could do that. But here's his issue. He's going to sue, and then there's going to be this little thing called discovery. And I'm quite sure that if there's something going on in that discovery that you don't want people to know, if there are people that you don't want them to talk to, And let's hope there's no videotapes of nothing. But I would say this I would just tell you in all honesty, after I read this and then reading it a second time, I'm just I don't know. This seems like a lot. This seems like a lot. Um there's some discernment that didn't go on. I mean, I know that you want to keep your job and I know you want to do all these things. So clearly there was I'm saying clearly. I'm saying allegedly because I don't know. But clearly you strung yourself along, because I don't know if I would have gone to that house again without either somebody that had pissed him off because you brought somebody strange to my house. And I think that would have woken him up to say, okay, I'm gonna have to do something different. The way that Tyler Perry would not have had my number anymore, the way that I would have saw him one day, oh, can I borrow your phone? And looked in that phone and looked at my contact, and I would have changed the number somewhere in the middle. All you have to do is change one number. That's no longer your phone number. And he would have been scrambling trying to figure out what happened. With his 600 contacts in his phone, or switch the contact. It's funny how this comes after Taraji says Tyler is the only director that paid her for what she's worth. I think he paid her a few mil, which is wonderful. But I've noticed that a lot of the actors and actresses, particularly those that are, in positions like Tyler Perry, like not Tyler Perry, Taraji P. Henson and Megan, because I remember Megan Good said that same thing, that Tyler Perry paid her what she believed that she worth. She didn't lowball. He's going to do that. I mean, he even mentioned that, or someone mentioned that, he said that he did. He was in an interview that Cicely Tyson, toward the end of her life, he was paying for her stuff. I think he has an affinity for Black women in that manner, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Exactly, face to face, except in states that have a one party recording in New York. You wouldn't be recording. There would be, if we're gonna talk about this, and particularly if I knew that you wouldn't be recording, we're gonna have a conversation. And then after that, if we can get nowhere in that conversation, then something else. But all I'm saying is, even before this, don't give people the ammunition to do that. Please don't give people the ammunition with all of these text messages, because people even consenting to videoing your intimate acts. Don't consent to that. Because as soon as they get mad at you for something, it's all on the web. You type it in on Twitter and you could probably pull it up. Because people don't have any qualms or anything when they're upset and mad with you, going through their phone and pulling that information out and putting it on the web. Don't consent to it in the first place. I know it's, well, I don't want to. Yes, you do. Because if someone can't respect the boundary that you placed, he's not the person for you. And ladies, you're gonna have to stop uh lending out your bodies for social acceptance, for a social currency, or an emotional payoff. You know you're not into it. So why are you doing this to keep somebody who's really doing it because they're getting kicks and shits and giggles out of it? It's a kinky little thing for them, and they guilt you about it. And ladies and gentlemen, you get yourself in these situations for what? Because you're trying to make somebody love you, care for you. No, they don't care nothing about you. They care about themselves. And even the most selfless person at some point has to care about themselves. But y'all, this is a mess. This is a mess. I just wanted to come on and talk about it because I knew it was in out here and in the news. But I just think it is. I think that they're going to settle. I think that if he is smart, that he would settle. But like McGasm says, the floodgates are about to come because everybody, once somebody sees somebody, because even with that Cassie lawsuit, once everybody saw that she got paid, and we thought she actually did get paid $30 million. She got $20 million from Diddy, and she got $10 million from the Intercontinental Hotel. So once, and just think about that. So technically, she got, because those lawyers took half. So she got about $15 million. She took home $15 million. Best thing she could do is buy her I don't know how much homes cost, and I don't even know why she just won't move to Connecticut with her folks and buy her a home there, and keep it pushing. Because I think $15 million in Connecticut, if they balance and invest it right, they'll be all right. You have to. And y'all make sure y'all tell your because I kind of pride myself on having uh uh friends of different ages, and mentor younger women. Y'all make sure y'all tell them that. Make sure that they have these firm boundaries. And of course, and prepare them for what men is going to say to them. And gentlemen, prepare, if you're in a mentoring situation, prepare these young men how to receive these no's. Because I was in my feelings earlier reading this when according to Dixon, Tyler Perry is talking about make sure your no's are strong. No is a complete sentence, and we know what it means. If I say it, it is to be honored. I shouldn't have to cuss you out for you to believe my no. It is a beautiful word. It's so empowering. But I shouldn't have to cuss you out when I say no. My rule of thumb is if I tell you no, and then you ask me, what do you mean no? What you talking about no? I don't respond again to you. I let you sit up there and keep asking the question because you knew what I said. That's why you coming back to answer. You have been you Women have been taught by society that we don't like to be embarrassed, or we don't like to cause a kerfluffle. And so people always get loud on you about your no. When they get loud, you go quiet. And I always have something handy with me, whether it's my phone, whether it's a book, whether whatever it is. And as soon as they get to talking, my attention goes to my phone, even if I'm not doing anything but looking at the weather. If I have a book, I'll look at the book, because once I've told you no, that's what it means. And I'm not repeating it. I don't have to, because as soon as you start asking, what you mean no? You don't I don't understand. You understand. You just want me to do what you want me to do. You understand. And if you have to, back away from that person. Don't turn your back on them because people are crazy nowadays. But back away from them. But that unnerved me. I don't like for people to try to dictate to you or dictate to me that my nose are not strong enough for them to comply to it. That's some BS from way back. That's some really BS. All right, people. That's all I got. What time is it? Ooh, we've been on here a minute. It's 2 o'clock. Well, it's 2 o'clock in the morning where I'm at. It's probably 3 o'clock in the morning for most of you all. So I would tell you, thank you so much for joining me in my insomnia, just like like some of you are up like with me, and I'm glad to see that I've got some insomniacs up and about along with me. I appreciate you all coming on the video. And again, wherever you are watching this video, if you are watching this video on X, please put a heart down on my live. If you're watching me on YouTube, please hit that like button and consider subscribing. And again, if you are on X, come over to YouTube and subscribe to my channel. It really helps with my engagement, and I appreciate it. I really appreciate it. Just a small channel trying to grow. And if you're watching me on Twitch, send me a bit. You were taking your braids out. I was on the fence of washing my hair and something. I was going to my phone to find some music, and this popped up. And so I quickly read it and I was like, oh, I got to get on here and do a video, because if I don't do the video, if I don't do a live now, I don't think I would have done one, because I'm still trying to go through, because I'm just waiting for the defense to get in on the Diddy trial. And so I think the prosecution is supposed to be done by tomorrow, but I'm going to check the feed to see if they're done. Child, you're so welcome. You're so welcome. Now that I know I've got some insomniacs in here, I may I may just do some later lives. We could talk about the different lawsuits and things like that, or we could talk about whatever. We could just kind of chill out and talk and have a good time. But got you. Yeah, I'm gonna go in here and but see, the only thing I don't like to fall asleep with wet hair. So I'll probably wait in the morning and go ahead, later on this morning, maybe about 10, because it takes, if I don't get up under the hair dryer, which I'm trying to avoid in the summertime because my hair dries out. It takes a good full day. Takes a full day for my hair to dry, particularly with these locks. It takes a full day for it to dry. So oh, okay. That's cool. You're off Friday morning? Ooh. Ooh, oof. I don't know how y'all do that. I've gotten too old to be trying to wash my hair and get up and go to work and do all that, because I have to do so much just to squeeze out all of this water and then do whatever I'm gonna do to make a little style and all that other stuff, and then having it to dry. So oof. I usually wait till the weekend. I may just wait to Thursday. Thursday is a holiday. So what is today? Today is Wednesday. Yeah, I can wait Wednesday. I can do it tomorrow, and then by Thursday it'll be dry. Or I can do it Thursday morning, and then by Friday it'll be dry. Either way. All right, people. We do this every week. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Please share this video if you care. Y'all, what are y'all thinking about this lawsuit? Put it down in the comments, in the regular comments, not the live comments, about what you think about this lawsuit. And do you think Tyler Perry's going to settle, or do you think he's going to go to court? Y'all leave that down below. All right. Please tell a friend, tell a kin, tell a coworker, tell that heifer that you can't stand that I'm over here making these videos. And as always, people, yes, I do love it when a plan comes together. And as always, people, bye-bye.